Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Tuesday after week one of the NFL regular season. We've got week two coming up, and right now we're going to take a look at notable injuries from week one. Of course, you always want to stay abreast of that. You don't want to get caught by surprise betting into a team and not realizing there's a major injury. Right, Jordan Sharp?
That's right, Pete. Thanks for having me on, buddy. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. All right, I got the list here of the major injuries. I mean, I think that actually the ones that can impact the games more are the ones where guys are maybe nicked up at playing through it or something. But let's start with the two big ones, right? Keenan Allen out for the year for the Chargers. How much of a big deal is that? And then RG3, I believe that he's a fracture in his shoulder, right? And he could be out for the season as well, right?
Yeah, I got a hot take on RG3, but I'll go with the Keenan Allen sob story here, man. What a bad break for the San Diego Chargers and this guy just coming back from injury, man. I feel so bad for him, especially just going out week one.
Yeah.
Chargers, I think, are still a three-point favorite. Is that correct against the Jaguars this week at home? So I mean, that's kind of surprising, but you have to think that we've seen this before from Phillip Rivers, so I don't expect it to really hurt that much. The RG3 though thing, and this is interesting. I wrote up a pick on this game as well. I think that the Browns offense is going to get better without RG3. Josh McCown had some killer games, and last season, about 11 months ago, against the same Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, he dropped like 440 yards and 2 touchdown passes in an overtime win.
Yeah.
I think we could see a really high-scoring game here between this one if the Browns defense shits the bed and the Ravens offense kind of comes alive under McCown, or the Browns offense kind of comes alive under McCown. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but there could be some value here as well with the Cleveland Browns, maybe even improving a little bit with the RG3 injury.
Absolutely. I mean, the perfect example of that was last week with the Pats, right? Tom Brady out, Gronkowski out, the line crashes, and then they went outright. Didn't even need the points. So that happens a lot in both the NFL and the NBA, and especially when you have someone like RG3, where there's going to be a major line adjustment just because of him being out. It can easily be an overreaction. Addition by subtraction happens all the time in the NFL, with the systems and with problem players. Not that RG3 is a problem player, but just sometimes the chemistry can get affected in positive or negative ways. So absolutely, I completely agree with you. That's a really insightful point you just made.
Yeah, I think that I think people overestimate what RG3 meant to this team. The Browns kind of were looking at RG3 as a signing to say, we knew we were going to be bad. Let's give this guy one last shot. Best case scenario, he gets hurt. We can blame our season on him getting hurt and just turn back to Josh McCown and still be, I'll get a very high draft pick next year. Like the Browns, this is going exactly how it was supposed to go for the Browns here in this one when they passed on those top 2 quarterbacks in the draft. So yeah, actually, I mean, just look at Josh McCown's game log from last year, and you can tell. I mean, he had like 12 touchdowns and 4 picks with like 2,000 yards in just 7 games. I mean, it's ridiculous how good he was.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going back to the Chargers, the Jags at +3, +111. One of my picks on the opening line on Monday. This got to hurt the Chargers at least a little bit, right?
I think no. I mean, I'm not going to undervalue how much the Keenan Allen injury hurts, because they have like really young receivers like Travis Benjamin, Tyrell Williams. Like these guys are really young, unproven receivers. Benjamin has a flash. They still got obviously Antonio Gates, but he's nothing compared to what he was just 3-4 years ago. So I agree with you. I think the Jaguars, just to their credit, are just an undervalued team here. I mean, they went toe to toe with Green Bay in week 1. I mean, I absolutely think that them taking points is a good play here. I'm just not thinking that it's like a lock at this point. I think some people are pitching it as.
All right, so let's go down the rest of the notable injuries. Brian Cushing out for the Texans. That's a significant injury, but I think will be appropriately factored into the line of the Saints. Up and coming cornerback Delvin Breaux out 6 weeks. That could be a sneaky, harmful injury for them. And then a couple of interesting things. The Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas having hip issues. He's having some pain. Could be an issue. Might be something he'll try to play through. The Broncos already might have some questions in terms of the dynamic power of their offense. And if you're leaning towards the Colts anyway, that might be a slight reason to like them even more. And then the Chiefs, Jeremy Maclin, had a concussion. He passed the protocol, though. And then Russell Wilson had a sprained ankle. He admitted he was limited towards the end of the game last week, but he says he is going to play, not going to miss any time. Will that affect him here? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. What do you think about any or all of those?
So the Wilson thing, I think he'll be fine. It seemed like from what I read earlier today that he was walking around on it fine. Pete Carroll seemed pretty confident. He's not in a walking boot, or it's not like severe like that. So I don't think that the Seahawks have anything to worry about. The Demaryius Thomas thing is interesting. I haven't heard anything on that about him. It seems like the Broncos are being a little coy on him, but I just don't think that it matters too much for this because as we showed in the opening night game, I mean, the Broncos are predicated on defense and running the football. They're going to have no problem doing both of those things against a poor Indianapolis offensive line and a poor run defense from them as well. I mean, the Indianapolis has had problem with their lines for years, and I'm surprised that Andrew Luck said, I'm going to re-sign with you just because I keep getting hit and you can't stop the run. But these things are going to continue. I don't think Denver's going to have any problem even if Demaryius misses. So if he plays, I think that's just added bonus to Denver. And I know you mentioned the New Orleans corner.
Yeah.
That just equals more Eli Manning passing yards. Like, I'm debating on how high a scoring this game could be, but I'm also thinking it could be kind of, it could fall under sneakily. That's kind of why I'm laying off of it. But yeah, that's a big one here. If he can't, obviously he can't go here in this one. Oh, and Cushing, that one really hurts the Houston Texans. But you mentioned it. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think 2.5 -2 where Houston's at right now is definitely adjusted for that injury. It sucks for them. Luckily, he's not going to be out for more than a month or 2, month and a half or so.
Yeah, from a betting perspective, something like that, a big injury like that, that's just clear cut. The guy's out, not nicked up. Sometimes it can be hard to take advantage, as opposed to like there's not going to be a huge adjustment with someone like Cushing. There'll be a small and appropriate adjustment, I think. And then some other things to be aware of. Dolphins defensive end Mario Williams, he had a concussion. Sam Shields for the Packers, cornerback, is also in the concussion protocol. And this is maybe interesting, or maybe I'm putting too fine a point on it, but both of the Falcons wide receivers, Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu, quote unquote, tweaked their ankles. Now, what does that mean? How serious is that? How much will that affect their play? Maybe nothing, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but that's the report. Both of them, quote unquote, tweaked their ankle. What does tweak mean? I'm not exactly sure. What do you think?
So from what the Falcons thing, I think is the most interesting. Sam Shields and Williams, the concussion protocol. We're not going to go anything about them until later in the week. So it's just kind of like we just got to see what they're practicing at, how they're progressing through the concussion protocol. Shields, I think, is very important to that game, though.
Yeah.
Even though the Minnesota passing game is obviously not what it should be at this point of the season, but just keep an eye on those. The Falcons receivers, though, I think is interesting. Mohamed Sanu had a great game, and it looked like that. Him and Matt Ryan got a pretty nice rapport. And from what I read, he was limping pretty badly after that game. Now, Jones, I think, is the one that's probably the more towards the tweak side of things, if you want to use that terminology. It seems like he just kind of re-injured a little bit, an ankle injury that he's been nursing since the preseason. I expect him to be fine. He's not going to practice till Friday anyways, regardless if he was hurt or not. So the Sanu thing, though, I think is very important. This Falcons offense is looking a little bit better than I think what we all projected it to go into being, especially with Tevin Coleman looking like he has been. If they can get Devontae Freeman going, that offense is deadly. So I think Sanu missing could have an real impact on this game. And I'm not like overestimating here because Atlanta's still 4.5 dog on the road in Oakland. That's still a tough game cross country. But if Sanu's out, I think I'd definitely be leaning towards Oakland here in this one, considering you're getting value at 4.5 right now. It's gone down from where it opened. I don't know what your feelings are on that, but I like Atlanta, but their defense is awful if you watched any of that game this past week.
Well, I ran it through my model, and Sanu's tweaked ankle is worth 1/20th of a point. That's what my model says.
Okay, well, that's science right there, folks. You're listening to the Pete Loshak science of this one, so maybe not so much as I'm putting on to it.
Jordan Sharp, is there anything else you'd like to bring to our attention before we wrap this up?
Just the last thing I read today, the Sammy Watkins thing, I think is real interesting for this Buffalo Jets game on Thursday night. Keep an eye on him because I think the Jets were undervalued last week. I got the charity points on them. I won that play. I'm thinking the Jets might be undervalued again if Sammy Watkins can't play. So keep an eye on that because I obviously it's in Buffalo. That's a tough game, but the Jets defense is for real, and that offense without Sammy Watkins, as we saw last year at times, can be very, very bad. Yeah,
but there was a line move in that, wasn't it? I think it opened at 3, and my first thought was maybe the Jets have value here, and then I went away for a couple hours and then came back like the next morning. It was 1.5, right?
Yeah, and it's Bovada's got it at -1 in favor of the Jets now. So it's already the value is almost gone out of it completely. You're looking at him as a money line outright winner here. But yeah, I still think Sammy Watkins means a lot to this offense. So it could be Jet City once again here on the spread if he sits.
Jordan Sharp, very valuable information to be aware of every week in the NFL. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Pete.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.